Yo, what's up guys? So I'm just getting ready to go to a staff party. Not having that much time to put a video together today, so I thought I'd just do this right now. The topic for today is why must technique be stylistically neutral? So let's talk about what I mean. A lot of times when people come into technique, they have too much of an onus in their mind on how it sounds. Does it sound pretty? Does it sound stylistically desirable? And if we go to do an exercise and the outcome isn't necessarily what they would like in terms of a stylistic colour or shape to the sound, they will immediately jump towards negative judgments. Let me try and straighten this up. They will think negatively. So typically, because the judgment comes from style, any sound that doesn't fit into pretty singing sounds will tend to have negative connotations in the singer's mind. And this leads to lots of various issues in terms of just vocal mechanics. Now, why does it have to be void of style? Why is it that when we're working on mechanics, we have to get out of that mindset? Because the style part of what you're doing is somewhat subjective. It's not ironclad. It's not a solid set of rules. Style changes. The types of sounds that are acceptable for singers to make changes over time. So because of the subjective nature of style, how we want the sound, how we want the music to sound, or how we want the voice to sound, if we attach too much weight to that, it can mean that we're going for an outcome rather than going towards something more black and white and objective, that being technique. So we'll go into just a couple of very simple demonstrations in a sec, but I want to get across that when we make sounds, broadly speaking, we want to come at them from the judgment of how functional is that sound, how mechanically efficient is that sound when we're working on technique, when we're working on making singing easier. And that doesn't necessarily always sync up with a desirable stylistic outcome, especially at first. If we're having problems with our voice, the type of sound that might help us in terms of mechanics might be completely counterintuitive and opposite to the stylistic outcome that we're looking for. A good example of this is when people lack closure, when they're struggling to get through their bridge without the vocal cords coming apart. We have to do all sorts of things to try and get those chords together, and it can be very exaggerated sounds like ni 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 ni. Does that sound pretty? No, but it's functional. Conversely, sometimes something that is stylistically more desirable than that, ma, is mechanically questionable. So when we're working on technique, we've got to get style out of our heads and start thinking, does this feel efficient? Is this something that I'm going to be able to really depend on under stress and rely on under pressure? Is it something that's going to tax my voice over time? Is it something that's going to be no big deal, day in, day out, something that I can depend on, something I can rely on? Good, efficient mechanics are that thing. Now, the simplest example is often I get students and we go for an exercise, even a hum to start with, and we'll go like this. It's like, okay, that sounds fine, but it's not stylistically neutral. There's a colour to the sound. The most stylistically neutral sound you can make is literally just closing the chords and breathing air, and it will sound like this. Any dopiness or darkness in the sound isn't necessarily incorrect, but it's not a neutral starting point. You notice? Yeah. Basically, it's where I would speak most naturally and most normally. Now, Oh my word, my arm is killing me. I'm going to have to change hands. Oh my god, that is so nice. I was like thinking I'm going to make it through to the end of this video with one hand. I'm like, no, I'm not. Okay, hopefully this won't be too broken. But this sound, when I go, it is stylistically neutral. I'm putting no sense of how should this sound, how good does this sound. I'm not putting any sense of that into the coordination. I'm just closing the chords and breathing air. So if when I get a singer and they're struggling and we go to do something and it's too stylistically coloured, it's too much. They've got to get out of sounding pretty and start getting into feeling the right sensations, get into the function, get into efficient singing, get into things that are more objective, rather than being overly concerned with the shape and colour of the tone. The reason this is so key is because that stuff should come at the end. That stuff should be the icing on the cake, the little bits and bobs that you make adjustments to. Maybe that vowel's a bit bright, let's round it out a little bit. At the end of your journey, something that you really are, you put in the decorations on the cake, so to speak. When people come to me and they're struggling, they're not at that part of their journey. They're at the part of their journey where it hurts when I sing through my bridge. I feel like I'm yelling all the time. I feel like I'm pushing. I can't sing high without pushing. What the hell's going on? Somebody in that situation, icing on the cake is not going to help. Yeah, there's an old saying, you can't polish a turd. And that's really often when struggling singers are too stylistically focused, they're trying to shape something that's not fully formed. So this is really the bare bones of why, when we approach technique, we've got to approach it from a stylistically neutral perspective. Mechanics, function, focus on what we're doing. All these things are going to lead us towards getting those chords together and starting to find good, healthy, efficient coordinations as singers. Then, once we've got something solid, a nice, good foundation to work from, then we can come towards some stylistic choices. Then we can come towards, how do we want to shape this, for your particular character or your particular style of music. It's obviously going to vary from person to person and from style to style. But the stuff I try to get at on this channel is stuff that is universal. It applies to all singers and all styles. It has to be stylistically neutral. It has to be efficient, skill, coordinated with skill, and just easy, something you can depend on, rock solid. There's no unpredictability in it. Yeah, all the stuff that I work at with my students and myself is getting that unpredictability out through rock solid, laser-like execution. And then in time we can come back to style and start shaping that into something pretty and desirable for you. Anyway, that's it guys for today. Listen, if you want deep singing knowledge you'll get nowhere else, hit the subscribe button, pound that thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye!